Welcome to the Watchin It Podcast Countdown Edition, Episode 5. On today's show, Godzilla had a son. All podcasts die eventually. And I'm your host, Robert, and with me is Donnell, and with us, a very special guest, Erik from the Hard Mark Podcast.
Welcome back,
That's me.
Erik.
Hello.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. It's been a long
Thank
time. We haven't had
It's-
you. When was the last time we had you on?
It has been a moment. I
Was
can't remember.
it Jocks? What Robot Jocks?
I mean,
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Did we do Robot Jocks or No Holds Barred?
we did No Hold Bar was the first. That was our first.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Robot Jocks. I'm trying to think of all your appearances. 'Cause I
And
feel
then
like there was
we
those
had him
two.
on for a Talking It
Yeah,
after we did the April Fool's episode.
yeah.
Well, we did
Forgot about April Fool's episode. That was good.
I
That was really good.
I always love that episode because it's one of the things that's like maybe we have
an audience of
some-
one.
That's what I'm saying. I like unless
Very
we
much so.
we had
Well, I
had you
appreciate it.
we've
I
had we had you on a couple times before that, so there's a small possibility that out of our small fan base and however big your fan base is, there might be one
Very
or
much.
two crossover fans. So it's like if those two exist, then it was Erik and whoever those two random friends are, because everybody else was like, "What the hell is going on?" But it was
Ryan did appreciate
fantastic.
listening to it as well. So,
Oh,
so it was
okay.
at least two.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh,
two.
excellent.
Nice,
Excellent. But we were
nice.
writing it for you. That was the.
Yeah.
That was
Right.
We were like, let's
I think
either give him a lap or piss him off. One of the two.
I think honestly, strangely, Robert, out of all of our specials, everything we've done, maybe not the 100th episode, maybe that might be bigger, but if not, I think the April Fools is the most work I've done on this podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I was researching Hard Mark Pot, listening to episodes, taking down notes
Oh,
of
yeah, getting into
mannerisms,
character,
and
like-
figuring out how to do
And
things.
this is
Structure
the
the
days
thing.
before Chat GPT, so you couldn't even.
Oh
rely on
yeah,
that.
yeah, right.
Just brute force it.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
And
it is a sad time here at the Watching It Podcast.
Bittersweet.
After about 5.5 years,
Mm-hmm.
we have decided to call it quits. It was a hard decision, several months in the making, really maybe a year and
Yeah.
a half in the making. But given the outlook on the economy and a number of factors, we've decided that it is time.
Yeah.
We are doing this episode, and then we are going to do 3 more Watching It's.
Yeah.
Both me and Donnell are going to select one movie, and we're gonna cover it, and then we're gonna do a final where we talk about our favorite moments, or kind of a retrospective, of the podcast, and we're gonna do 2 Talking It's in there. We're gonna end with a Talking It at the very end because that's probably what people like the most.
Gonna have some special guests on there.
Yep. And as far as our first special guest, we wanted to start with one of our first guests. He was our first guest, Erik, who started podcasting with the Hard Mark Podcast around the same time we did. And it has been going along about this. So we're just going to start this off with a discussion about podcasting, which is what everyone that listens to podcasts love to hear, is people talk about podcasting. I'm sure it's very interesting to a lot of people.
Yeah.
These are going to be our highest rated episodes of all time.
This is where
Yeah.
we take off.
It's like, I wish they weren't talking about movies for 5 years. They could have just been talking about podcasting. You know? So yeah, when did you start the Hard Mark Podcast?
I guess it depends. So we started recording at the end of 2019, or actually summer of 2019, and then I just banked up a bunch of episodes, and then COVID happened, and then it was like, oh, this is odd. So now I have all these episodes that we recorded pre-COVID, but like I haven't posted anything, and now we're in the middle of COVID. This is very strange. But I basically spent a year just recording episodes, so I started actually posting them, I believe, like about a year later.
Alone or with your co-host?
With Ryan.
Oh,
So
with
the very
Ryan,
first
okay.
episodes were recorded, but he would. I don't know if I should admit to this. I've told Ryan this isn't new information.
Yeah. Nobody's
What
listening.
Yeah, nobody's listening. What I did to Ryan is like a textbook example of how to convince someone to do something that they don't want to do.
Gaslight.
Which I hope people only use this for good. But I knew he had no interest in starting a podcast. He had no interest
Yeah.
on being in a podcast, etc. And so it was very like once a month I'd be like, "Hey Ryan, do you want to come by and like maybe we'll do another one of these things." It was a very gradual
I
sort
can
of
just see it.
process.
It's like, oh Ryan, come over. I like to hang out with you. It's like, hey, have a beer.
Yeah.
Have another
Right.
beer.
I would
Have another beer. Hey,
honestly, I would
would
like
you
go
like
to
do you like wrestling? He's like, no, not really. I don't know anything about it. He's like, why don't you
yeah,
watch this with me? Hey, why is there a microphone in front of me? I don't know. Here, have another
I
beer.
cooked
It's like,
him dinner more often than
Nice.
not in the early
Nice.
days, honestly. Like he would come by and just eat dinner and drink beer, and it's like, okay, well, this is the price I pay for free dinner and beer.
Oh,
But yeah, so depending on how you look at it, it's either been like 5 or 6 years, somewhere in that range.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I like the difference in Erik starting a podcast and us starting a podcast because Erik had at least a plan of sorts. Where I remember me and you, Robert, it was literally just like people kept saying it, and then we both started watching Doom Patrol, and we were like, we should do a podcast. And then we
Yeah.
came in so we didn't even have a name. We had no idea what we were doing. I think our first episode was like an hour and 45 minutes long.
Yeah, it was because we recovered an
rough.
entire season of the
Yeah.
show, which was, and it's a dense show for
Yeah.
sure. So I this was your first podcast, right, Erik? The Hard
No,
Mark. Oh, what
No.
did you do before? Oh, I didn't know this.
you know.
lore.
I'm
You don't
sorry.
remember.
lore.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. The
It's
show
okay.
that will not be named, and I remember it quite fondly, and
I never got to experience this show.
it was really fun.
I've
It
heard
was
the
a
stories.
it was a very 2010s podcast, and it was it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't discuss it further. But yes, I remember it, and I do love it. But it was a big cast on that podcast.
Yeah, for
It was a
sure.
lot.
Yeah, that was a much bigger thing just as far as like getting other people involved. Hard Mark has been very much a labor of love on my
Yeah,
behalf where it's like it's almost exclusively just me, but I need Ryan to like do it.
yeah.
He's like the tool.
You
It's
take
like I
the
need
he
Ryan the
takes
same
the
way I need a
pressure off.
microphone.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
he's a useful part of it, but like I can't rely on him to do anything but besides show up and just talk
Yeah.
in the moment. Like
Yeah.
outside of that, it's
There was
exclusive.
probably on the other podcast that we will not name, was probably less pressure. And you had
Oh,
you
we don't need to be cagey. Soft Jonathan was the name of my first podcast. You can't find it on the internet anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yes, that was very much a loosey goosey type of thing, as opposed to this, where like for a while now, and for anyone who hasn't heard the Hard Mark podcast, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. But,
Hey, we're having our free road tour. You don't need to advertise. No,
That's why we're bringing people in to
I
advertise
know.
their
I
podcast
know.
to our dwindling
I'm gonna
audience.
take all of your listenership that are like, oh, what do I do with all these hours that I used to fill my time with watching it, and now they're gonna come to the Hard Mark. But we essentially do half the episodes are Rumpus Time, where it has like virtually nothing to do with wrestling except for like maybe one segment.
Your
and then
blatant ripoff of Talking It.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but
now that's
yes
split
and
up.
no.
That's split up now, right? Rumpus Time is its own separate thing, and from
yeah, it's all in the same podcast feed. But yes,
Yeah,
I
same
separated
thing
them
we
out.
do.
Yeah.
Because there was a point in time where I was like really actively trying to grow the show, which I guess this kind of ties in with what we're talking about, just about the schematics of podcasting. But for a little while, I was really trying to like adamantly grow what I was doing, and so I was posting on social media a ton. I kind of, and nobody gave me this feedback, but I was like, if I'm seeking out a podcast and the hosts are talking about just bullshit for like 30 to 40 minutes before they're getting into what's actually the title of the show, the episode,
but
it's gonna annoy me.
I understand, but I would disagree, because what I liked about when you were doing it that way is that your BS at the beginning was always tied in to what was the fight was about. Whatever the match was about, right? I mean, it drifted here and there, but it was always, the question was, hey, do you like this thing? And that thing was always related to, or seemed to be related to, whatever match y'all were discussing. But I completely understand where you're coming from. That like it was that was when we so about a year and a half ago, Donnell asked me like, okay, what are we doing? Where are we going? What are you thinking? And I was like, okay, well, if we're gonna do this, we got to start putting some money in. We got to hire somebody to start doing the engineering better than we're doing and doing our social media and stuff like that.
Yep.
And we did interviews with a number of people. We ended up hiring John Tell, who's been very good to us. He's done an excellent job with the engineering. I hope that whatever income we've been providing him, he'll be able to find that somewhere else. But one of the first things he told us is like, you need to get to the meat and potatoes before, like if you're announcing the main thing that you're talking about, get to that before you start talking about the other stuff.
Yeah, that's when we kind of switched our structure. So because we used to always do what we've been watching stuff beforehand, and then we realized like, okay, well let's flip it around. Let's get into the show and the content, because that's other things. Sometimes we run long, and we'd realize like we don't have time for the meat and potatoes if we do what we've been watching.
It's like if we're announcing we're talking about Severance that day, maybe we should start out talking about Severance, and then if we have time to fill, we can fill some other things. But anyway, go on. Sorry to interrupt you with that.
Oh no, I mean, so whenever that was, years ago at this point, so I kind of came to that conclusion just by myself, thinking like, okay, well, if I'm a wrestling fan and I'm tuning in because I want to know about wrestling, hearing this guy talk about just poop and peeing while sitting down and animals that have chlamydia, like for like a really long time before they actually talk about wrestling would be annoying. So that was kind of the impetus for splitting it into the rumpus time into the wrestling. I think honestly, like, I love the way the format of the show works now. I've essentially completely abandoned, like, I the thing I hated the absolute most was social media. I could not stand doing social media.
Neither could we.
So I've stopped doing that. And now, and like for a long time, up until the birth of my daughter, I was like, we need to post weekly. Like, it has to be a weekly thing, da-da-da. And like, I was just putting so much pressure on myself. And now I just kind of do it when I have the opportunity to do it. And like, it's really just more of a labor of love type of thing. And so I've come to terms with it. I'm at peace with just it being a hobby thing and not trying to grow to thousands of listeners type of
Fantastic. So so that's interesting to me, because you started out and you did it about 3 years before you were involved with the pregnancy.
You say that like it's some sort of scandalous thing.
I was trying to think of the worst way that I could say that. Because it's like, oh, before you had a baby, and I'm like, well, you didn't have a baby. Your wife had a baby, and then I'm like, well, your wife. If I say your wife had a baby, that kind of sounds lame. It's like I gotta spice it up a little bit.
I guess I mean, involved with the pregnancy would be pretty accurate. But I mean, if we started in,
it sounds so risque though. Yeah.
I was about to say, it's like involved in the pregnancy with his wife.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, she's almost 2 now.
That almost sounds like it isn't his.
Robert, what do you know that we do not know?
Absolutely. I mean, tune into the next Rumpus Time, everybody, to find out the real paternity of my child. But yes, it was about 3 years of kind of not full freedom on account of being married, but pretty free. Pretty free until now.
Yeah. How old is your child now?
She's almost 2. She'll be 2 in
very
like
nice.
a month.
How's the family? Yes. Everything going great, I hope?
Everything's going awesome. I have no complaints. It makes me laugh every day. She's got a bit of a temper sometimes, but you know what? I'll take it. It happens.
That's a terrible twos. It'll go away.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, she's
look at me talking. This bridge troll knows.
But no, she's great. I love her.
Yeah. Nothing like 2 single men with no aspirations of having kids coaching a man with a kid.
So how long?
Give me all your advice. Turn this into a parenting podcast.
1.5 liters of rum at Total Wine and More is very cheap. That's my advice.
That makes sense. Yeah,
solid advice.
So how long were you on hiatus for?
Oh,
because this is interesting to me. Because I think if we had stopped like 3 years in, we would not have come back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a thought where I was like, do we just wrap it up at this point? But like, I essentially said, I'm not stopping But like the last episode before she was born, I was like, this is not the end, I promise. Even though some of you may think it's over, I promise that we are coming back. But now I'm curious how long of a gap it was.
I think it was a year.
Yeah, I think
Who,
it
for
was,
me?
Yeah. That you
No.
were on hiatus. I could be wrong.
You talking about when my child was born?
No. Between when you stopped and then started up again on the podcast.
Yeah, that's
For when my baby was born.
yeah.
Yeah.
The gap. So I posted one episode in June. Okay, it was like June, July, August, September. 3 months.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not a year at all. That's a quarter. That's a quarter.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
right now it's like a give or take a month cadence.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's an extra couple weeks on top of that, but we're like 1 or 2 episodes a month, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
Well,
is
it's
a lot
fantastic.
more
I'm glad to
reasonable.
have you back. I don't get
Yes.
to listen to it
Yeah,
as much as I would like, but it's a fantastic program,
I mean, I've just
thank
been
you.
and I'm
bored.
glad you're still doing it.
I've just been bored.
I'm
Going
s-
through
I
the
Yeah.
st-
podcast.
I'm still learning about wrestling things that I never knew. I'm the, you know, I'm not the
I
Eric.
still think I still think of your very kind words, Robert, when I put out the
Oh yeah.
Ronda Rousey Charlotte Flair episode,
Oh yeah.
and how complimentary you were of my notes. And I feel like either whether it was subconsciously or consciously, that really sort of shaped how I approached a lot of the matches since then, in terms of like how I put my notes together and stuff.
Well, then good. I'm the reason for your success.
Yes. So
Checks in the mail.
we're probably about to dive into his movies, but before we do, because it's something like I've thought about and wanted to pick your brain about, Eric, but you never have me on the podcast. So what's that about? We have you over here, but never agree. No, but
We hate guests. It's the Hard Mark
I'm
Podcast.
just wondering, because I was thinking about this today and just some of the
No, wait, we
changes I've
were on his
seen.
podcast once.
We have. I'm just saying
Oh,
We did.
okay.
once. This is like his fourth,
Yep.
fifth appearance on the Watchin It Podcast. Oh, we've
I
been
think
one
we've only had
time.
one other guest besides you, to be fair. But yes, it's
Uh,
very rare.
Anyway, he's freed up. That's here pretty soon.
Yeah,
So, you
yeah.
know, that's-
I get the hint,
I'm gonna have an
Donnell. I
opening
get the
slot.
hint.
But no, I want to ask you, how do you feel about things now that that Vince McMahon is out and this is now the Triple H / Stephanie McMahon era? Do you feel like things are different or better or that sort of thing? Because I've wondered that from your perspective.
let me do a tack on to
Oh.
that. Does this change because you are you caught up on your podcast to the current era? Are you still working through like past stuff? Does the change at in wrestling ownership does that change how your podcast is going forward?
So here's a little glimpse into how the sausage is made, everybody. Nobody ever asked me these types of questions, so I'm very excited to answer them. So I just like literally as of this recording today,
All
I
right.
just put out the newest episode of the Hard Mark Podcast, which was the numbered episode 96. I think if
You
I'm
gotta
not
pump up
mistaken,
those numbers. We're on like 300 something.
I know rookie numbers. I literally I did not do actual math, but I was doing rough estimates in my brain, and I think at our current pace of content, it would take over a decade for us to have as many episodes as you guys. But I will set that aside. I have a list, a Google Keep document that I think I have like 150-ish matches in total listed
Crazy.
out of like ones that I would want to do. And so I want to eventually get to kind of like the current era, but every time I'm like, oh, I want to show this match, then there's like 5 matches that I would need to I don't actually need to show Ryan those matches, to be fair, because he won't remember them anyway. But in my mind, in my soul, it's like I can't possibly show him this match before we watch this other match.
Yeah,
and then
yeah. Because it's
goes
a
on and
story.
on and
It's a
on. But
long running, like 50-year story.
Mm-hmm.
it's like a comic book.
Yeah.
It's like a live action comic book for sure.
It's like like the current stuff going on with John Cena can be
even the
traced
heroes
back all
come
the way
back
to
and
whatever.
they leave and come back and yeah, it's interesting.
Yes, but to answer your question, Donnell, and like I'm gonna sound like a real piece of shit. Well, let me take that back. Maybe not a piece of shit, but like a really annoying human being. I am just increasingly more and more anti WWE. as time
I
goes
can
on.
see that.
Does any of that have to do
Uh,
with like them moving to Saudi Arabia and stuff like that, or is it all just the
it's
owners?
like that doesn't help. There's so many reasons. There's so many reasons why I'm just so calling it anti WWE is hard because like it's the wrestling product that I grew up on.
Mhm.
I watched probably the least amount of WrestleMania this past year that I'd ever watched of my life. I think I watched like a couple of matches just to see what was going on. I do keep up with it, but between the Vince McMahon stuff, which I know he's not officially around anymore, but
Yeah.
actually it turns out he still owns stock in the company. So
Mhm.
morally,
Yeah.
I kind of find it difficult to support them. The Saudi Arabia stuff.
Yeah.
I think that just a lot of their higher ups are big pieces of shit. I just find it morally difficult to support that company anymore.
No.
Mm.
I can understand that. I definitely.
There, I
Um,
mean, I can definitely understand some reform needed.
So where are you at? You do some AEW or some TNA? Like what?
yeah,
What is?
AEW is the main thing. I sprung for the first time in my life. I sprung for front row wrestling tickets
Mm,
when they came to the
Oh,
Tacoma Dome last year. So
damn.
that's surprising.
um,
It's the first time.
I've sat. So I did not. Whatever. It doesn't even matter. I sat front row one time technically, but it was because front row had not sold, and so they were like, "Oh, hey, you second row
Push it
people, you
forward.
can move forward." It was a tiny show at a venue called Washington Hall that maybe had a couple hundred people. This, like being at the Tacoma Dome, being several thousand people, was like by far the most money I've ever spent on a wrestling
Yeah.
ticket, and it
You
was
were
an
like, I'm
actual
in the
like.
mob. I got front row seats to this. Like,
Absolutely, yes. And I made sure to wear my most obnoxious T-shirt so I could be on camera, like very easily identifiable on camera.
what was it?
So
What
yes,
was it? What was the shirt?
it was a wrestling shirt. So
Okay.
I wasn't
It
going out of
wasn't
my way
like
to be
three
like
cats with guitars and pianos.
that would have been good. No, I was wearing a pink shirt for I think it was actually a wrestling podcast. It was like tweet at The Rock, take your
Uh,
shirts off.
why were you not wearing a
Hard on
Hard Mark podcast
Yeah,
shirt?
get
That's
some of
the
that
I
advertising out there.
considered it. I was like, do I want to be that guy? Do I want to? I almost made a
yes.
sign. I did consider making a sign, but I didn't.
If you're sitting
But yeah, it was
front
like
row, you be that guy.
I'll send you a clip, Donnell. You can spot me
that's funny.
very easily.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Well, that's unfortunate. Yeah, the fall of WWE means nothing to me, but I can understand that it means a lot to people.
Financially, they're doing great. My
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
my
sure. I'm sure.
reluctance to engage in their content
Yeah.
apparently is only paid in big dividends for them. So L'chaim.
All right, moving on. Since we brought Erik in,
Yeah.
we wanted to give him an opportunity to do some of his favorite movies. I don't know if these movies are his favorite movies, but he has selected 3. He's shaking his head no, forgetting that this isn't going on YouTube. He has selected 3 movies. Surprisingly, Robert has not seen any of these movies and has only heard of 1.
Oh, okay.
I've seen
You know which
2,
one I've heard of.
but I've heard of all
Yeah.
3.
Sure. Is that my cue? Do
Yeah.
I go?
Start
Or
us,
is
start
there...
us, start us out in any order you prefer.
Let's dive in.
We'll just get the one out of the way quickly that I don't like. This is definitely not one of my favorite movies, but like I will say, in the back of my mind, before I realized that you guys weren't in this thing
If you want to
for
change it up,
life.
if you want to talk about 3 movies of your favorite movies and not give us the original list that you sent us, then we can talk about whatever you
No.
want.
Well, I feel strongly about the choices that I made, so this is good. But so circling back to when we all watched No Holds Barred together.
Yes.
Yep.
In my mind, I remember maybe, I don't know, a couple months after we had done that, I was like, someday the day will come where we will do a reprise of that and we will all watch Ready to Rumble together. And
Could have
so
messaged us anytime.
but if you recall in Ready to Rumble, that was the movie where Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan in real life got all coked up in a hotel room and just wrote this script about like, what if Ted Turner in WCW tried to lure Hulk Hogan over to their side? And so in my mind, So Ready to Rumble, which apparently Robert, you've never heard of it. I'll just give you the
Never
brief
heard of
synopsis.
it. Yeah.
It is the official WCW movie. It came out in the early 2000s. It stars Scott Conn and David Arquette, and then a bunch of WCW wrestlers. So in my brain, the canon is that the company, whatever it was, TVI, TVN, whoever's trying to recruit Hulk Hogan and No Holds Barred, they then became WCW years later, and so trying to kind of bridge that gap of those characters, because clearly the one guy, he got electrocuted, the main bad guy who called everybody jockasses, he's dead, but all these other guys kind of rose to power with that power vacuum at the TVN. So
yeah.
So it's a sequel.
Not
in
my brain.
Erik has built it into a sequel.
Yeah, in my brain. So for what I was thinking was eventually we would watch that together and like basically thread those two stories together.
Gotcha.
Like, okay, so once Rip killed Zeus, that's when the TVN had to regroup, and then they brought in Sting and Bill Goldberg and stuff like that. So anyway, that's all I really have to say about it. Oliver Platt is in it.
I know.
I was gonna
see
jump
that,
in with
and I'm
that.
like, Oliver Platt, what are you doing, my man? Like,
yeah, I saw he's in this.
The peak.
It was weird for me because I have started watching it. I do not recommend this show. Every time I watch this show, I'm like, this is just garbage. I don't know why I'm watching it. But he's in this show called Chicago Med. And so when I saw him in this, and I was like, that's a really weird thing. But then I also saw David Arquette, and then I was like, oh, this is where, because when you go to David Arquette's Wikipedia page or anywhere else, it says actor / professional, or sometimes they say part-time or semi-professional, or sometimes say like former professional wrestler. And I'm like, when was David Arquette a professional wrestler? And I see this movie, and then I went through his wrestling career on his Wikipedia page, and it's all connected to this in a sense. And I'm like, oh, this is the movie that made David Arquette into and I'm saying this with quotation fingers, wrestler. That now he gets to post that as one of his professions on his Wikipedia page and everywhere else. He's a wrestler. I'm like,
hey, it did it for Tiny Lister.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, David Arquette, not to go down this wrestling, I mean, here we just keep coming back to it, but David Arquette years later, like recently,
I was just looking at that. I was looking at that.
Started wrestling, and he almost died in a wrestling match.
Oh my god!
I saw that.
Like someone took a fluorescent light tube and basically slit his throat, and he had to hold his throat together and run out of the ring. Like he almost died.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Jesus, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any redeeming factor to Ready to Rumble? No. Oh, it's just trash? Because it looks like trash.
Oh, it's total trash.
Okay.
The question becomes: is it worse than No Holds Barred? I don't know.
So the benefit would have been if you had covered it with us here at the Watchin It Podcast. That would have been what made it worthwhile.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So we're doing non-recommendals. That's what we're
Yes, absolutely. No, I would not, unless I can't imagine who would want to watch that movie if you really like horrible movies and like super cheesy films.
Many people
enjoy Ready to Rumble. Yeah, and there's a segment of people that enjoy that type of thing. But yeah, if that's not your up your alley, then you're not going to enjoy Ready to Rumble.
Yeah. All right. Last thing I want to say about this, because as you said, there's a plethora of wrestlers in there. Instead of some names that I really like Bill Goldberg, Sting, Booker T, Randy Savage, Bam Bam Bigelow, lots of names. A name that surprises me only because of when this movie came out is John Cena.
Hey, look, we're bringing it back.
This is 2000. This is like early Cena. This is before Cena became the man. This is before Cena was the household WWE / movie star like guy. And so I'm just like, how'd he weasel his way into this?
I'm pretty sure he was just an extra. Like he was just a guy training at.
That's what I would think, because this is not like I said. You see John Cena and you're like, oh yeah, he's a big movie star. It's like, but when this movie came out, he wasn't like I said. He wasn't even the main event at wrestling at WWF as it was back then at the time. Like he was just a dude who showed up a little bit. So I was just surprised by that. I'm like, how did he, with these big names like Goldberg and Sting and all this stuff, how did he get here?
Yeah.
Quick wrestling.
I forgot
question.
that was. Yes.
Has there ever been a match between John Cena and The Rock?
Yes. 2.
Who won?
The Rock won the first one, and John Cena won the second.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just curious. I don't need details.
Yeah.
I mean, right now in the
They
storyline.
build it.
They're
I'll
like
give
the
you this one
only
little
two modern wrestlers I know. Like,
Sure. They build the first match between them as once in a lifetime, and then they did it the very next year again.
and I'm sure everybody somebody made millions of dollars. I'm sure.
Yes.
It's like,
Oh yeah, I'm sure everyone involved came away very, very wealthy. Absolutely. But yeah, that was like The Rock's first match in a long, long time. He more or less kind of stopped having anything to do with wrestling for a while, and then I think he changed up his management team, and then they were like, "Well, you could do wrestling; it's not a big deal." And then he did it a little bit.
yeah, I'm surprised John Cena still does wrestling.
I mean,
This is his last year.
it's
He said that
supposedly. I'm throwing that out there
yeah,
because
end of
it feel like
December.
every wrestler, except for Dave Bautista, who we also talked about, but every other wrestler is like, "I'm done, guys," and then 2 years later, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's John Cena coming out of the
Oh
crowd
yeah, because
randomly."
they said no, they go and work on other things until the money like meter keeps building, and
Mhm.
then they've probably got some like AI metric system that says like, okay, you've hit peak return value here.
Right. I mean, who you never know for sure in wrestling, like whether or not
Yeah.
somebody's really retired. Like if Saudi Arabia throws enough money at him, I'm
Yeah.
sure that he would have to consider coming back.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, at the end of this year, he's more or less done. Maybe there'd be like one or two final matches, but I think he's pretty much finished after this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in
All
a
right.
farewell tour.
Hit us with your next movie, Erik.
MacGruber, Robert.
MacGruber.
MacGruber.
Hey, MacGruber 1, MacGruber 2, or the one season series of MacGruber, or the SNL skit MacGruber. I have never seen. I think I've seen clips, but I've never seen any of them in their entirety. But I am aware of their
I mean,
existence.
so I'm not aware of a MacGruber too. I knew there was a MacGruber.
There is a
I knew
MacGruber
about the
2.
TV series, and then of
I think
course I
there's
knew it all
rumors of MacGruber
started.
too.
It all started with the SNL sketch, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy to me how many movies and shows have spawned. Like some really good ones too. Ted Lasso is one of the greatest shows ever made, and that spawned from an SNL skit.
Did it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
The more you know.
But yeah, no, MacGruber is probably like for what it's worth for me. And as I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic and IMDb, this is incredible how low it is rated. But it's probably my favorite, by far my favorite of the SNL movies.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite comedies of the past, like, I don't know, 20 years. Like, I think that Your Highness has a very special place in my heart. Yeah, I'm sure there's a handful of others, but MacGruber is hilarious.
I have only ever found one thing ever funny in all of SNL.
That is
Okay.
saying something.
In all the decades of SNL, only one thing has ever been like laugh out loud funny to me. And that was oh my god, I can't remember his name. Will Ferrell doing the announcer guy.
Oh, Harry Carey.
Harry Carey. Yes. He's like, if
Yes,
you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself? It kills me every time. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, it is. That is one of the, for sure, one of my highlights of SNL.
Next time we'll be broadcasting from the sun where it's 10 million degrees hot. And you know what? That's the only here's the parallel to that. It's the only thing that I've ever thought Will Ferrell did that was funny.
Oh wow. Okay.
You know what? My favorite, the only thing that I like that Will Ferrell has ever done other than that is oh shoot. Of course now I forget it. A movie where he's being written by a book by a writer.
Oh yeah.
Stranger Than Fiction?
Stranger Than Fiction, yes.
Yeah. Where he
No,
plays
I've
a
never seen that.
non-comedic straight man drunk. Like
Right. Perfect.
like he's not comedic in that movie.
Mhm.
And it's my favorite movie with Will Ferrell. It's
Have
it's
you
a
seen
weird
the
thing.
other guys?
I have seen the other guys. But I've got
Okay,
problems with
alright.
Mark Wahlberg, so you know it's like
All right.
We don't like talking about it. Mark knows what he did.
All right. So real quick, Erik, because you were saying this is MacGruber, which strangely also was the last movie, but MacGruber is your favorite out of all the SNL movies or movies that have come from SNL.
If I'm going through the Rolodex of SNL movies, because I mean, obviously you got Wayne's World.
Yeah.
There's It's Pat.
Mm-hmm.
There's Superstar. There's Night at the Roxbury.
Yep.
A lot of others, but like
No Blues Brothers.
as I'm
Not
going
feeling the
through
Blues
all
Brothers.
these,
Coneheads.
Coneheads.
oh fuck, Blues Brothers. Ooh,
Yeah,
Blues
I was
Brothers
about to
is good.
say, you're not feeling those Blues. I'm not trying to refute MacGruber. I'm just making sure we're
Sure.
covering all our bases. And I'm like, because I saw Blues Brothers and I was like,
I'm not a big Blues Brothers guy.
I enjoy it. I
like Blues Brothers, but I do think MacGruber is probably the tops of my SNL. It's just
IMDb does not agree with.
Well, so that's the thing is, so I was gonna.
Great. You know, wait. Can we pause for a second? It's crazy how few there are. How few movies from SNL skits there are.
Yeah. So and this is not a bash on Eric's pick in any way, shape, or form, but I just happened to pull it up, and one is like MacGruber, which came out in 2010, was the last SNL movie to be made, and then also in box office performance, it did the worst out of all of them. I'm like, I don't know, Erik. I don't know if this is MacGruber might have killed the SNL movie.
You know what? They went out with a bang.
They went to making shows.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they did. This is true.
They did.
But the skits, I will say, like the skits are okay. Like I don't. If sounds like Robert, you've never seen the MacGruber skits, but essentially, the MacGruber character on SNL was essentially just a parody of MacGyver.
Yeah.
There'd be like an increasingly ridiculous types of ingredients that he could like use to disarm a bomb or make a bomb or whatever. And it was him and Kristen Wiig, and they would just there would usually be some non sequitur at the end where either like they'd get confused or the conversation would take a turn and then the bomb explodes and they both die. Like that's what MacGruber, the reoccurring sketch was.
Yeah.
And then in the movie, it just goes into full parody of like every 80s action movie.
Okay. No, I mean the concept sounds good. I've just never gotten around to diving into it. There's other media that supersedes it on faith. When judging a book by its cover, I'm like, I would rather watch that than MacGruber.
I just want to throw this out there, though, just to make sure, because this is, Erik from the Hard Mark Podcast. Everything needs to be roped into wrestling. Chris Jericho is in this movie.
Oh, not only Chris Jericho, Donnell. You'll find that Mark Henry, Kane, the Big. I believe the Big Show.
Yep, the Big Show. Okay, I'm seeing them here now. The Great Khali. Okay.
Yes. Have you? So you've never seen this show or seen the movie before, Donnell? Is that correct?
I have. It has been a minute. Like I probably saw it not when it came out in 2010, but probably in 2011. So it's been over a decade.
So I have to make an in-episode correction. There is no MacGruber 2. There are discussions to do a MacGruber 2, but there is a one-season MacGruber show.
Yes. Yep, I remember.
I have seen that, although I'm very fuzzy on it on account of the fact that I had COVID when I watched it. I remember enjoying it, but I will say,
a fever dream.
Yes, the element of the movie, like the scene in the movie that involves all the WWE wrestlers, is probably the best wrestling adjacent thing in any movie ever.
Awesome.
Yeah. Nice.
That's a statement coming from you.
Well, it's a very low bar to clear coming from me. But, it's so like I don't want to give anything away just in case anybody hasn't seen it and wants to check it out.
It's been 15 years.
I think it's safe.
Would you like me to just set up the scene for you then, Robert?
No, you don't have to.
I can. I don't have a problem doing it.
Look, I'm 3 doubles deep. You don't gotta.
Okay, I'll just talk about it. So
if you don't want to spoil, I won't force you.
Well, you're never gonna watch it anyway, so it's fine.
No, I won't. No, I won't.
It's okay. So he's trying to reassemble his team that he had back in the old days. Like he's trying to get the gang back together because he's got a big operation. This is MacGruber that he's trying to orchestrate, but he knows he can't do it without his old team. And so his old team is essentially comprised of all these WWE wrestlers.
Okay.
And so he's going around recruiting them all, etc. There was one bit, I don't remember which wrestler. It is fun. One of the bits was very funny where he goes up to one of the wrestlers and then the wrestler kisses another man and then MacGruber feverishly scribbles his name off of the list and then walks away. But anyway,
that doesn't work now.
He recruits almost all of his team and then they're in a van and then he accidentally sets off an explosive and kills them all immediately.
Nice.
So it's like this 2-minute bit with all these guys that you're building up and then they all die. So
you know what? That sounds like they ripped that off for Deadpool.
I mean, possibly. Possibly.
Where he like put together his whole team and they died like immediately.
Except for
except for Domino.
Now that you mention it, yes, that is the same thing. That is
yes. Ryan Reynolds be ripping off MacGruber.
He thought he wouldn't get caught out, but the Watchin It Podcast always catches
I mean, look, it's a trope. It's been done, but that's pretty good.
And Val Kilmer also.
Yes, Val Kilmer.
I did see Val Kilmer was in that.
Did you see the name of his character?
No, I did not.
Von Kuntz.
This movie was really hitting for that high brows.
Yeah.
It's so good. It also has, for my money, the best sex scene of any film.
Oh my God, that's
a
hard pull
something.
because I've seen Kate Beckinsale in Underworld.
Well, until you've seen Will Forte in MacGruber, then you haven't quite experienced Nirvana, my friend.
I've seen Charlie Sheen in Hot Shots Part Deuce.
Oh, this exceeds that. I know exactly what you're talking about. In my opinion, anyway, the reason I picked it, I think this sex scene exceeds that.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Now
I'll have to just watch that YouTube video later. After 6
I'm sure
doubles.
you can find it. I'm sure you can find it.
Yeah.
So side quest. What is off the top of their heads? What is everyone's favorite TV move from a movie? So like there was the movie, and then they made a TV show.
Oh man.
About it. So I'll start out. Limitless.
Okay.
Forgot that there was the show of that.
I know everybody does, but the movie was fantastic. The show was pretty good.
I mean, this is a hard.
Just off the top of your head, you don't got to think of the best. Just anything.
I'm struggling even to think. Like I'm thinking of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but I never watched that. So like that feels
the
like
show or the movie.
I mean,
either.
They're bringing it back soon. They're working on bringing it back.
Yeah. I remember that. They're working on a new Buffy, which who knows.
So you've never seen it. I've seen the show a dozen times, all the way through. Easily. I've read the comic.
I'm looking.
No, see, that's a show to a movie to a show. I was gonna go with some low hanging fruit of something that's coming.
Wait, no. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a movie.
No. What I was gonna pick.
I was
gonna go with some low hanging fruit with something that's coming because I was gonna say Wednesday, but then I was like, well, that comes from the Addams Family movies, but Addams Family movies come from the Addams Family show, so I don't know how that works.
This is true.
I'm not sure if that counts because I'm like, it was a show that became a movie that became a show, so I don't know if that qualifies, Robert.
There was Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
I watched that cartoon as a kid. I shouldn't have because it was a very inappropriate cartoon.
I thought the Beetlejuice cartoon.
Yeah, Beetlejuice was a good pick. Yeah, I agree.
You guys are looking through the same alphabetical list that I am.
I'm on the Wikipedia just like everyone else.
Oh, let me get on this Wikipedia. I didn't know we were hopping on the way. Okay.
Fargo's really good.
Fargo's
pretty good.
It's solid.
Especially like we're just doing off the top of the heads, but Fargo has it for me so far. Yeah. Highlander, not so much.
I think.
Oh my God.
Okay. Yeah, I think Fargo might take it. It just off of what. I mean that especially Friday that first season.
Ooh, Men in Black cartoon was really good.
I did love that cartoon.
Oh, we're just talking about cartoons. I mean,
yeah,
we're talking
well,
cartoons.
I mean, that's a show. That's a show. You know, I'll take it. But
I don't want.
It's no MASH.
List of films based on. I don't want shows based on or films based on movies. I went the other way around.
Stargate.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Stargate. Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, obviously, Star Wars has quite a few,
Yeah.
and the MCU as well.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like for some reason those don't qualify because I feel like those shows are like still in the realm of like the movie world. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, or those shows came after the wall came down
Yeah.
between movies and shows. Like there used to
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
clear divide of this is
Yeah.
a movie star, this is a television star. And when every once in a while a television star would make a movie, you'd be like, oh my gosh. Or whenever a movie star would show up in a TV show, you're like, how much money did they pay him to show up in this TV show? Now that wall has come down. If you're in Hollywood, you're in Hollywood. You can just flow between shows and movies back and forth like it's no big deal.
Oh yeah, no, I'm 100%.
I think the Star Wars shows and the MCU shows don't get a count because like no, the wall
the divide
came down.
between A-list movie actor and and B-list TV actor is really blurred for sure these days.
Yeah.
Okay, we can move on. Your third
okay.
movie.
Well, before his third thing, I just want to real quick back to MacGruber because you brought up Kane, and I just still to this day I just find the most bizarre thing. Kane was probably one of my favorite of the WWF/WWE wrestlers. I always liked him, just the intimidation.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Donnell. And
very sorry to hear. I have a theory about Undertaker and Kane fans being perverts, but go on.
But no, my big thing is that still to this day, I find it insane that there is a city out there where you can go and be like, yeah, my mayor is Kane. I just find that as the most bizarre thing in the world that a dude who used to, throw a man in a leather mask with a sock on his hand through a steel cage is now running a city.
Absolutely. The good people of Knox County, they know what's up.
Isn't there a mayor in Japan we've talked about that wears like a wolf costume everywhere he goes?
We've talked about a man who dresses up as a dog, but he was not the mayor. At least last time maybe things have changed, but last time I checked in on him.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Kane will never be Jesse Ventura. Okay, that's just
true. I do forget about Jesse Ventura running in politics. That is definitely so. I guess Kane isn't the first. What is it? That's a weird thing. Anyways, your next movie, which is also not in my list of favorites or anything, but is in my of franchise wise. I've always been very partial to this.
And
franchise.
I demand that you say it in the original Japanese.
Oh gosh, I'd have to do a little bit of research. Gojira, I know is that part, but yeah, Son of Godzilla, which I had on the list originally, Godzilla -1, which is probably my favorite.
Which
Godzilla
I also
movie.
have not gotten around to see. It is ridiculous that my personhood has not seen Godzilla -1, but every time I think about watching it, I am too drunk to read the subtitles.
They have a dubbed version.
Do they?
Dub on Netflix.
I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do
the
it.
Dub wasn't bad. The subtitles I think are better. I've watched it both ways. But the dub isn't bad.
It just takes me so out of it when the mouths aren't matching with what's going on.
Well, then I've got bad news for you about the rest of the Godzilla series.
And people who know that I watch a lot of anime, they animate it in a way that it works for both English and Japanese. They don't form the word.
It's a lot easier because it's just mouth open, mouth closed.
Yeah.
Where with actual human, you got the lip structure and the tongue and how it moves, and like we pay attention to that stuff even if you don't think about it.
Don't
yourself.
talk about tongues.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about basic human.
That's the most disturbing thing I've ever heard Donnell say. The lips and the tongue.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I've said worse, Robert.
Anyway, go on. Tell us about the Son of Godzilla, which I know we've talked about. The show. What's the Godzilla show we covered?
Monarch.
Monarch,
which is fantastic. We got another season of that coming.
We will not be covering it.
We will not. We will not be around then. And we talked a lot about the history of Godzilla, but the Son of Godzilla did not get covered when we talked about it.
That's a damn shame, gentlemen.
I mean, actually, I'll let you go ahead, Eric.
Where's the Bride of Godzilla? Where's that movie?
Everyone already knows.
See, that's kind of left open to interpretation. Yeah, but so for me, when I was a kid, and so like, now I can look back at it and it's trying to put the pieces together and whatnot. But I was in addition to being a huge wrestling fan as a kid, I was also a huge Godzilla fan, which like I've come to realize now that there's a lot of similarities between like the format of Godzilla movies and pro wrestling. So like it makes a lot of sense why
I feel
would
it. I feel
enjoy
it.
both.
Yeah. Eric,
Especially those 60s movies. Yeah.
we should have been friends when we were kids because I was into wrestling and Godzilla too. We said, why didn't we hang out? I know we didn't know each other, but
I didn't know anyone who liked wrestling and Godzilla. What a fast friendship we would have struck up then. But I think my favorite, and like I by no means am saying this is like the best Godzilla movie, even of that era. Like the original Godzilla movie, I think is by and large considered to be like just like an actual fantastic film. Whereas, as you go on in what is called the Showa era of Godzilla, it tends to get a little bit more cheesy, campy, etc. But like I always had a thing as a kid, and I can point to other examples in media of this too, where like the bad guy sort of like develops a soft-heartedness for like the example that I can always come up with is there was a He-Man Christmas special where Skeletor was like leading these little kids around and like he defends them against like this bad guy monster guy, and you're like, oh, Skeletor's not so bad. And so like to me, Son of Godzilla was like this, oh, Godzilla does have a soft side. Godzilla has this child that he's just a single dad trying to make good Godzilla. And so like that was always my favorite Godzilla movie as a kid, because like Godzilla basically just showed up and just kicked people's asses. There wasn't huge stretches of time where there wasn't any Godzilla. Godzilla wasn't the bad guy. So like, to take this a step back, I also owned Godzilla, or King Kong rather, King Kong versus Godzilla. I wanted to like that movie a lot, but the thing that always bothered me was the fact that King Kong won.
Exactly.
Well,
BS. Look at the freaking fight record, folks. Godzilla has how many fights underneath his belt? King Kong got a woman up.
When we covered Godzilla versus Kong, this was Donnell. He could not stop.
It just annoys the crap out of me.
The Godzilla franchise has been in a bunch of different like ups and downs and stuff. But like the first one is a very kind of serious, very interesting movie, like the black and white version. But it's I like the era of Godzilla we're in. I definitely have trouble digesting the the old like 60s stuff and whatnot. But
I mean, the thing is,
but I watch Power Rangers, so how could I not?
I'll say you kind of hit on this a little bit, Eric, but the Son of Godzilla was kind of part of the turning point of where, and then we've had it kind of fluctuate back and forth, and then I kind of feel like now with the American versus the Japanese, not versus, but market, is Son of Godzilla was a turning point of where people started to think maybe Godzilla could be the hero. They started softening him. They made him have friends like Mothra, and then he started fighting other monsters a lot more than destroying the city, and that kind of thing. But then we've waned back into that a few times, back into him being just a destructive monster, and then I kind of feel like we've splintered into two worlds that exist now of the American Godzilla, where he is once again the hero, the savior of the planet. But then we've had Shin Godzilla and Godzilla's Minus One, where it's like, oh no, he's back to being the destroy everything, unstoppable force of nature. And I kind of like having both, because I always, growing up, of course, I always wanted Godzilla to be the hero because I always wanted to be rooting for the good guy as a kid. And so as he became more of a hero, as I watched the movies and stuff, I always felt good, but still knowing as I got older, knowing how the original Godzilla movie was about basically a parallel of the nuclear bombs and all that stuff, and seeing as he needs to be this destructive force, I did feel like we started missing out on that. So I liked when we waned back to him being a villain, and so I like now that we have in the current age, we kind of have a divide where it's like over here, Godzilla, unstoppable natural force that's just here to destroy all, no questions asked, and then over here, hey, he gets to be a good guy, he gets to beat up, some other monsters.
I didn't really get into Godzilla until Shin Godzilla. I mean, that's such an amazing movie. It's so good, and I just now understand why it's called Shin Godzilla. because when I got it, it was like called like Neo Godzilla or something like that.
Oh, okay. Sure.
There's like an American name for it.
Yeah, I think they talked about. I watched like a 3-hour documentary, a video essay about Shin Godzilla just like the other week. So
Oh, you'll
ask
have
me
to
anything.
send it to me. I
I will. No, there's a guy. There's a guy.
3-hour documentary about a movie that was an hour and a half long. I love it.
Yes, Big Action Bill does phenomenal Godzilla documentaries on YouTube.
Okay. I might have to add that.
That's a plug.
Nice.
I won a Godzilla trivia contest at a pub recently because of the videos.
Damn.
Oh my gosh.
So back
That's
to your
nerdy.
Exactly like
It's like,
I was about to say,
you dork. We thought you were a cool wrestling fan, not some nerd.
Back to your pick though of Son Godzilla. One of the things that is interesting is that Son Godzilla is introduced in this movie, or Son of Godzilla. And he is not the same as later on they introduced Godzuki in the cartoon. Not the same.
Yeah.
And then also the next time Godzilla have kids is the abomination of a Godzilla movie that came out in frickin' 2000 that woo.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Roderick.
Oh, I really
Thank
wish
you,
like for Shin Godzilla, I wish they'd follow up on that, man, because like where he had like his tail turning into all the little like Godzilla human people. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I could
Right.
get more of
Yeah,
that.
there's been a lot of rumors about that, but I think that moment is sort of come and gone. But they are
Yeah.
making a sequel to -1 apparently.
Yeah.
so-
Yep. They're making. I mean, how could
Crazy.
you not?
Which will almost certainly have monster on monster action, which that'll be interesting to kind of see how they
Yeah.
pivot to that from
mean-
the very grounded setting of the first
True.
-1.
Yeah. It'll be interesting because I'm about to say they still like even once they start introducing additional monsters, they still had Godzilla as a unstoppable force, and
Yeah.
so.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no. I've always been a huge fan of Godzilla. Like growing up, they used to have like I can't remember what network it was, but randomly would just have like a Godzilla marathon one day when they're feeling lazy and didn't want to put out any programming. Like
Yes.
that was
Yes.
one of my favorite days of the year because I just like what nonstop Godzilla movies all day. I'm like, sign me up. I'm here for it. I don't need anything else.
Absolutely.
Like that.
Yes.
That was one of the that, and then also Cartoon Network would every once in a while do a Johnny Quest marathon, and that was another day where I'm like, like I said, I realize now it's just we don't know what to put on, and we'll just do a marathon of a show that we own the rights to. But
Mhm.
kid me thought those were magical days, like just all day Godzilla
Absolutely.
or all day Johnny Quest. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Why are we not doing
they
this
knew
all
their
the time?
audience back then.
Absolutely. They were tuned in with it.
Their
But yeah, I think the
non-computerized
thing-
algorithm had you pegged.
the
I bet
thing
they
that
sold a
think
lot of
I-
toys during those commercials.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. But yeah, like in wrestling, not to not to keep tooting that horn, but like in wrestling when I was a kid, the thing that I always loved was when like some good guy would be getting beat on or whatever, the whole arena would be chanting like Hogan, Hogan. And then if Hulk Hogan showed up, the music hits, everybody just fucking loses their mind. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
god, Hulk Hogan's here. Like you don't get a whole lot of that in the Godzilla movies, but the bit at the beginning of Son of Godzilla, which for Robert's benefit, towards the beginning, there's like this giant egg, and these giant 3 praying mantises are beating the shit out of this egg, and then all of a sudden, baby Godzilla, son of Godzilla, Manila, emerges and just starts crying.
His name is
And so then there's-
Manila.
They name him.
Yes, his
they
official
name
name is
him-
Manila.
Yes,
I'm not okay with that,
They
but go on.
they didn't workshop that name.
And so the 3 praying mantises are now beating on Manila, who's just crying. It's a baby, and then all of a sudden, fucking Godzilla shows up, and it's just like Hulk Hogan back in the '80s. He comes
Yeah.
out, he literally body slams one of the praying mantises, breathes fire. Like there's. In almost every single Godzilla movie, Godzilla gets his ass kicked early on, and then he has to like re-strategize and come back at the end. This is one where, like, except for like a very brief moment in one of the last fight, Godzilla's just constantly on offense. Like Godzilla's like the big fucking badass. He's just there to protect
He's dad.
the baby. He's the dad.
Yeah.
And so you also get more Godzilla scenes because he's not just there to like wreck shit, because the whole thing takes place on an island. There is no Tokyo for him to be stomping on.
Yeah.
So like you get all these scenes where he's like teaching Manila how to breathe atomic breath. He's teaching Manila how to do all this other shit. And it's like you don't get that much Godzilla per per minute. It's a higher concentration of Godzilla than you get in a lot of
and
those other movies.
yeah. Uh, so
Um, so that was
Fantastic.
like, and I'll take one last little bullet point here, and then if there's anything else, I can get into it. So like again, as a child, by far my favorite Godzilla movie. Like, and it's a guilty pleasure. It's not one of the Godzilla movies that a lot of people
no.
talk about with fondness.
When you
You
sent
don't
over
have to defend it, Eric.
when you
You're
sent
sharing
over
your
Oh,
Son
truth.
sure.
Godzilla, I
Yeah.
was like, huh, of all the I feel you because I like a lot of Godzilla, all of it and stuff. But still, when you sent over Son Godzilla, I was like, that's a deep cut. That's that's
That
an interesting
was
pick out of all the Godzilla movies out there.
absolutely, it was my favorite. But like, so fast forward, I'd not seen this movie since I was a kid. It's not like something that had kind of carried along with me through my teens and 20s and stuff. But my daughter, I noticed that she really, really loved stuff with like babies in it. And all of a sudden, one day on a whim, I was like, I wonder how she would react to Son of
Mm.
Godzilla. And
Mhm.
so, probably like 6 months to a year ago, I was like, let's try it out. And I put on Baby Godzilla or Son of Godzilla. I call it Baby Godzilla to her.
Yeah.
So I put on Son of Godzilla, and the moment that Manila came out of the egg, she started like, oh, like a visceral reaction. I was like, holy shit. And like, one thing, I know neither of you guys are parents, and you know, who knows where your lives will take you. But I'll tell
Not
you,
to parenthood, that's for sure. For me, at least.
as much as you may want to like force your child to love something, you really can't. There's
Yeah.
no way of like
Yeah.
no, you're gonna like this thing. Like it's just a total crapshoot.
I mean,
So
you
the
can.
fact that now she's becoming this little Godzilla fan. There's 2 Godzilla movies that she actually enjoys. And it's like she will, anytime she's doing something, if like she hears the Godzilla roar, she'll look up and be like, oh. And I've heard her say
Nice.
Godzilla a couple times. So
Nice.
Nice.
Son of Godzilla was the gateway into her Godzilla fandom. So we'll see where it goes with
It's
her.
a bonding moment.
I
It's
will.
like, oh, I
Mhm.
love Godzilla, and now my daughter does too.
I mean, but
Yeah.
Absolutely.
also,
I
Eric,
never would have expected it. It was not part of the plan, but I'm glad it's worked out the way that it has.
It was really part of the plan,
yeah,
wasn't it,
I
Eric?
gotta say, also though, Eric,
I mean, wrestling was probably more part of the plan, but I'll take Godzilla. I'll take a Godzilla.
yeah, I was gonna say also, Eric, though. I mean, you said you can't force your kids to like someone, but you can. It just means you're gonna be paying for that counseling and therapy for years to come afterwards.
I might need to start pumping out more podcast episodes to pay for that at this point.
Last thing I want to say about it's not about Son Godzilla, but just whenever I think about the older Godzillas, I gotta always bring up good old Godzilla versus Megalon. Just because that's the Godzilla that gives us our famous the everyone has seen it, even I've been over Robert the Godzilla drop kick. That's just
Yes.
ridiculous.
Mhm.
To this day.
Godzilla
I'm just
drop
like, you can't beat that. You can't. I've seen Godzilla -1. I've seen the latest Godzilla X Kong. I've seen all the spectacle they put in it. Doesn't matter. You can't beat that drop kick.
The drop kick's great. The which one was it? Hedera, where he flies. Have you seen him flying before?
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like when
Curls his
he
tail up like
rides
a
he
shrimp.
rides on his tail.
Yeah.
He's just like,
Yes.
I'm gonna
So good. Oh, those movies.
Yeah.
So good.
Classics.
All right, well, we're gonna
Yeah.
wrap it up there. Watching It Podcast, Countdown Edition, Episode 5. Thank you, Eric, for coming and being one of our final guests
Yeah.
on this show. You can find Erik on his podcast, Hard Mark. Anything else you want to plug?
No, just that. Listen to me, please.
Please, you sound so desperate. Don't say it.
Please listen.
No,
to me. God, listen
it's
to
a
me,
fantastic show, whether you're into wrestling or not, especially maybe if not. It's a fantastic thing to learn about wrestling. And yeah, fantastic. Thank you again, Erik.
Thank you, Eric, for
Thanks,
coming
guys.
on. It's been fun. Glad we got to do this. Before we sign off, I want to do something I haven't done before, but I just figure we're into the podcast, so I want to do this. I want to give a shout out, Robert, to a fan of ours. Because for a while now, and I want to thank you for all you've done posting for a while now on Instagram, which is weird for me to say because I don't like Instagram or any social media, but account named Mama.
We have people for that. Well, we
Yeah.
did.
But account name Mama LaFay +3. has regularly gotten on and posted her favorite podcasts of the week and stuff, and not every week. So if you would have bumped those numbers up, we might still be going. I'm just kidding, but most weeks of her favorite podcast, we were always in there, and so it's nice to know we've been doing this for 5 years. It's nice to know we have at least one fan. We've done it, Robert. We touched somebody out there.
They're an
one
AI
fan.
bot.
She posts a lot of stuff about her and her family too, so I think she's legit. And if she is AI, well, you look legit. But yeah, so thank you for listening. Thank you for posting about our podcast, and and I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed these last couple episodes before we say goodbye. Bye.
You said bye. You're gonna say bye.
Say bye as many times I want, Robert. This is the end of the podcast.
All right.